Thank you so kindly for being a part of Politics Done Right on KPFT 90.1 FM. Our YouTube feed is now alive. The TikTok grand distraction. I'm bewildered by the TikTok hoopla. It is clear the congresspersons know absolutely nothing that they're talking about. As a software developer who has written TCP/IP software and programmed microprocessors on the bit level, I can tell everyone in clear fashion that we are wasting a lot of time on this issue on false premises. In the process, people who have built vertical businesses on this platform are likely panicking, and they shouldn't be panicking. I find it ironic that we are quick to jump on foreign companies like TikTok, but do not do so on foreign companies that truly cause American harm. One has to wonder if the ultimate goal is to remove a competitor that figured out how to build a more engaging app than most companies. It would easy to create a TikTok knockoff that uses multiple American-based servers that transfers information to Chinese servers through transient servers virtually undetected. If we were serious about keeping people's information private, we would make it illegal to collect the data in the first place, but most people voluntarily provide the data for convenience. Brett Wilkins from Common Dreams wrote the following. Civil and digital rights groups this week joined a trio of progressive U.S. lawmakers in opposing bipartisan proposals to ban the social media platform TikTok, arguing that such efforts are rooted in China. All right. Here's what I want to tell folks. Don't believe the hype. And I'm going to leave the rest of that segment for those who read the newsletter to read, because I have Andrew here, a real person, to talk about this. You can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to finish reading the article. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of what you said is very right. I think the push to ban TikTok is less motivated by genuine concern for Americans' privacy and more for the great game, the great geopolitical game, striking a blow against China, which is, I think, the entire wrong approach to take to geopolitics in general, but, you know, with China specifically. I think the real issue here is not that China can collect this data and use it. The problem is that the data can be collected by anyone and use it. There are things called data brokers, people who collect this data here in the U.S. And then sell it to whoever wants to buy it.
The highest bidder. Who
can be the Chinese government if they want to, but is more often American companies like Facebook and Google, and even the U.S. government, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, these sorts of three-letter agencies. And so the real issue, the real threat to Americans' privacy is not China, in my opinion. The real threat is the companies that collect this data and our own government that can do far more damage to our daily lives with it than any foreign government can.
And I think that is, and that is the discussion. That is the debate that I don't hear from our national media. And that's the reason why I covered this a bit on my 3:00 segment yesterday. And I said, it really needed some more coverage in that. Everybody, they're going crazy. TikTok is going to take our data and give it to China. And they never asked the question, what is China going to do with that data? What are they going to do with that data? Are they able to control us here? No, they're not. Right. They may do some kind of campaigns like what Donald Trump did under the auspices of Russia. But I mean, that isn't the issue. We never did anything about that. The actual risk that comes from a foreign government or foreign entity of any sort having the, shopping habits, browsing habits, advertiser demographic data of American citizens is limited because they can affect us, yes, but they are limited by the fact that they're not over here. They're not in connection and in collaboration with American businesses, with the American government. So it is really an overblown concern. And if there
is, to the extent that there is a legitimate privacy concern, the solution is to pass a federal privacy law that restricts the amount of data that can be collected, restricts the types of data that can be collected, and gives American consumers more opportunities to take control over their own data, over that data that's collected.
Maybe like they could follow what many of the European countries are doing.
The General Data Protection Regulation. Yeah.
Right. So, you wonder at times. So, folks, give us a call. I would like to hear some of your thoughts on TikTok. Should we really restrict TikTok? Should we really be concerned about TikTok? Should we really fear that somehow TikTok is going to take our data and give it to China and let China do something with it? Go ahead, Tori.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts on China and TikTok. Fine. They want to get into the U.S. Hearts and minds via TikTok, or whatever they're doing, distract people with entertainment, which is, what Hollywood and all the big media has been doing here for years. But I think it's tit for tat. Let free media, let U.S. companies have free media in China. And that's it, period. Equal exchange. Let Chinese people have access to the internet because they're closed off. The Chinese Communist Party is evil, and they don't let people have access to free information. So why should we let them have any kind of platform here? That's my opinion.
And that's a valid opinion if that's the way TikTok worked, right? That your opinion would be perfectly valid if that's the way TikTok worked. Unfortunately, the people that are generating the media, the TikTok media per se, are actually American citizens.
Yes.
You may get a media blast, or they may influence some American citizens to do something, but it is the people that are putting media on TikTok are bona fide American citizens, or European citizens. So, I don't think, when folks says, well, let us into China. Yeah, it would be nice if they let us into China.
Sure.
But the thing about it is the people that TikTok is letting into America aren't Chinese. Are the people that TikTok is letting into America are American citizens. So TikTok is no different than Facebook. It's no different than Instagram. And guess which foreign company influenced us in the last election? Who was it?
It was Facebook. It was Cambridge Analytica.
Thank you. And where's Cambridge Analytica? UK. It was the UK. And not only was it the UK, Cambridge Analytica, but do remember that the people that influenced the election then by all the bots in Russia, and this is all of this is quantifiable and verifiable.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think, I think that, it is important to have this free exchange of information. And I think that we need to lead by example on that.
Yes.
I think we need to show people that it is not a threat to society to have dissenting views. It is not a threat to society to have disagreeing views on even fundamental questions as to, capitalism versus communism, these sorts of things. It is an opportunity for dialogue, and it is an opportunity for us all to enrich our own opinions and get a better understanding of the people who we disagree with.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you said, because when we look at China in some sort of a monolithic format that bad communist country.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I am a card-carrying member of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, specifically on this issue of TikTok. And they're a group that has opposed these sorts of, for lack of a better word, censorship. Well, I guess that's exactly what it is. Censorship policies from the U.S. government before on various issues, including, national security issues, which is what this is being framed as. And I think they have made a very strong argument on their blog at EFF.org, one of the recent Deep Links Deep Links posts, talking about what exactly the vagueness of these bills that are in Congress right now to ban TikTok.
Right.
The fact that the congressional role in it is very limited. There's very limited oversight of this kind of ban. It gives a lot of power to the executive to enable this, and that directly conflicts with past actions that Congress has taken to limit the executive's power, to limit the president's power to restrict trade with other countries, because international relations, as much as they are the president's responsibility in the United States, Congress also has a role to play.
Absolutely.
And they're trying to absolve themselves.
Well, it's the same thing that they did with when we went to war with Iraq, the Authorization Act that the
authorization for the use of military force,
and they just repealed that, I believe, last week.
They repealed it,
no, they didn't. I don't think they renewed it. I got to check. I don't like to give misinformation, but I think that I read, came over the Chiron, something to that effect. But anyway, let's go ahead and bring Kyle into the discussion. Come on in, Kyle.
Hi.
Hello, Kyle.
Mr. Alberto.
Talk to me, my brother.
Yes, sir. I am the man going for presidency 2024. I am competing already. And I am about social media, but I am mainly for Facebook. I do not like any other app but Facebook.
Well, Kyle, you have registered your intent to run for presidency. And by the way, I hope you got my response that you sent to info@politicsdoneright.com, where I told you.
No, sir. You sent me a response?
Yes, I sent you a response, and I also sent you a newsletter of ours. So thanking you for being a listener of our show and asking you to make sure to share that you found a good program to work with. So, Mr. President, or Mr. Hope to be President, I want to thank you for calling as we continue with this discussion. Okay, my dear friend?
All right, Mr. Alberto.
You have a wonderful day, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right. But yes. Let me tell you, you mentioned a statement that to many would bring out their ire. When you go out and you make a statement like, well, how different is the United States government than China? Oh my God, that is blasphemy. I don't ever make a statement like that. And the reason I don't is because I know it requires a second and third degree of what do you call it? Indirection to understand what you're saying. Right. And most people only look at the top value. I always tell people I've been to China a couple of times. I've been to Shanghai. I've been to Xi'an. And then I've also been to Taiwan, right? Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that the people are just as happy in Taiwan as they are in Shanghai. And in fact, they may be a bit more happy in Shanghai, given the amount of, Shanghai makes Houston look like a third world country. Let me just say that.
Wow, okay.
All right. If you go to Shanghai or if you go to a lot of these places, it's just amazing, from the airports back to the
public transit is better.
Public. Oh my God.
Well, that's not hard to beat in Houston, is it?
But what I'm saying is, one of the things that we have is an insular view of the world. Yeah. And we think, democracy is for us. I believe it. I am 100%. But as we have dumbed down our population, we are starting to see that democracy doesn't work with a dumbed down population.
Yeah, my co-host, well, I'm the co-host. My host, Mike, on ThinkWing, one of his favorite quotes is an educated electorate is a prerequisite for democracy.
And that is... Mike said that.
It's not his quote, but it's one he likes.
Okay, but it is such an important quote. Yeah, because you have to have. I always give the example that you have a bushel of corn, or rather, you have a farm. Yeah, you have la cosecha, the what do you call when you go and you pick all the
harvest?
You have the harvest. Okay, you have the harvest. You got 1,000 bushels of corn. You set away 10 bushels. And you feed everybody with the rest. And everybody, there are a few people that still not completely full, and they see that there's 100 bushels left, and they say, why don't we just use that? And everybody in an intelligent society knows that you have to keep the seeds for the next crop. Right. But if in a society that doesn't think past their belly, don't use their intellect, to them, I want to use that. It's there right now. Right. And that is how I view democracy. Democracy is a messy kind of a thing, and you don't always get what you want, and babies cry and scream when they don't. And what we are turning into is a baby country where you don't get what you want, you scream, and you try to burn the whole thing down. Come on in, Tori.
People need to learn how to live in a democracy. We don't have anything in our culture that's democratic, from families to schools to jobs. And so learning democracy, it's like learning to ride a bike or learning to write or learning to do anything. If your parents don't let you learn to walk or ride a bike, or, you have to let the kid go and let them learn and pull themselves up. And that's where we are in our, I'm not even going to call it a democracy. I mean, but we need to aim for democracy. That's the goalpost at the end of the field. And you need to let the people make all the bad mistakes, like electing Trump and electing a whole bunch of, BS artists. And then they skin their knee, just like the kid falling over on his bike for the first time. And then they get back up and they learn to ride. But you got to let them have the right to vote. That's what we need as far as a constitutional amendment, is everybody gets to vote. Period. Prisoners, you name it, anybody over 18. We need to foster democracy. We need to become the promise of this country, which is a democratic country. And there's, we don't need any brakes on it or moderation on it. The way that these two parties are trying to, game the system for themselves and their rich backers. We just need to open up the doors and let people vote.
Now, Tori, you make this. Well, I know you don't make the assumption because I know you, but I think some people would infer that you're saying that the two parties that are trying to marshal our democracy are somehow really democratic. They're not.
No, as a matter of fact, the whole idea of parties is undemocratic because it's a concentration of power, and so that's what we have now is concentrations of power here and there. Even unions are theoretically, it's just at the theory level, they're undemocratic because they're concentrations of power. Ideally, we wouldn't have, parties and corporations and media running our elections.
We wouldn't feel the need to form groups that argue for the interests of certain people because we would all be representing our interests collectively.
And it's amazing because if you were to read Federalist 10, that's exactly sort of what they alluded to, the factionalization of our politics, right? So, but and anyhow, I want to bring and talk to, or rather say thank you guys for being here. Alistair Waters in the chat, as well as Maywood, E2247, and Mr. Jelly, or MYSTER Jelly. Thank you for being here at Politics Done Right. So this topic all started with TikTok, and I want to end this topic on TikTok by alerting the audience to please do not buy into what you're seeing Congress make most won't realize that they're making fools of themselves and not understanding the platform. First of all, let me just tell you, TikTok, like Facebook, like YouTube, like Instagram, and Snapchat. These guys are just software applications and a database, nothing more, with some logic in between. That's all they are. And they speak about these items as if they are some sort of a magical instrument. It is not. And the controls doesn't come from what that software, it controls from what I always talk about BS in, you get BS out.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Well-known programming term. Yeah.
Exactly. So what we have to understand here is the solution isn't banning any particular tool like Facebook or whatever, because whatever you ban, something else comes up. And many times the thing that comes up is worse because they've learned how to evade that which, was doing in the first place. Or
the ban isn't tailored enough and you end up banning a whole host of helpful or benign things along with whatever you were trying to ban.
Exactly. But, the funny thing about it, Andrews, I love TikTok. I love Instagram. I love Facebook. I love YouTube. I use them all. Mm-hmm. In fact, this program appears on every single one of them. Okay?
So subscribe.
Yeah. But the reason why is because I learned so much, and especially on TikTok because of the way, like I put in the piece that I wrote there, the reason they're probably hitting TikTok is they found a way that is more pleasurable for people to use.
Yes.
And you can go onto TikTok within 3 minutes or a 10-minute block, get a true history lesson with links that you can go corroborate and verify. There is so much out there that people have learned that had not been taught in school.
Yeah.
Right?
This is what happens when you democratize media.
Oh, wow. Just like what Tori just said, right? Open it up wide, and then we get truth. But the truth of the matter is we were never intended to be a true democracy.
Right.
The fact that in the inception of this country, we couldn't get senators chosen by the people. The fact that we have 2 senators per state, the fact that we have an electoral college, there were so many anti-democratic stops placed in here. They like to say we did that to slow down, so that we don't make abrupt changes.
Right.
I am sorry. That's not how it works. That's not democracy at all. And as you know, I was a producer of a program called Legalized Democracy. I have a documentary called Legalized Democracy at Move to Amend. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. And, it's like the founding fathers, they never wanted any kind of democracy. I mean, they wanted a type of feudalism. They wanted a democracy for a class of people, an elite class of landowners. And so that's what they got. They moved from a monarchy, which is, just straight out of feudalism, into this modified feudalism where the landowners still maintain control, except there's a lot of them now. And it goes back to the theory of why Athens became democratic, because it's just a way for the rich and the elite to keep their sons alive. All these little princes that are set to inherit all the money, otherwise there's civil war and it's one faction against another and it gets bloody and then somebody becomes a king. That's what democracy is about. It's just one step removed from civil war. I mean, that's what our elite, bourgeois democracy was aimed at. They were trying to prevent a civil war between the landed gentry. And so now we just need to expand that democracy down to the middle classes and the low income.
And the reason that we have all of these groups that you talked about earlier, Tori, like unions and political parties that represent the interests of their members, is because we have a government and a societal organization that is based around representing the interests of a certain group of people,
right?
And which is, the rich and the powerful.
Right.
So the rest of us group into these organizations to try and build our own power to match that.
Right.
And that's important. And that's, I think, the best ways. Those are the best ways that we have to challenge that limited power structure. But we need to, be careful about which groups we join, because some of them, the two-party system mainly, and quite a lot of the business unions will have been co-opted over time to be, instead of representing their members' interests, it's about how can we, the leadership of these organizations, get ahead. That's why I support I don't know if I can name check on this, but a particular third party and a particular union that are very democratic and are actually trying to push to open our society.
Look, you can support whomever you want to support, and you can name whomever you want to name.
Okay.
On this program.
The Green Party of the United States and the Industrial Workers of the World, I think, are two very pro-democratic organizations.
That's great. Now, one of the reasons I believe I want folks working in the standard parties as well, and this is what I tell what I tell as an activist, what I tell those folks who are in my sphere, and that is, we need Andrew in the party that Andrew is in, but we also need you to start building out these parties so that in the long run, we get a convergence, because that is what's going to bring democracy. You have to have that, in my opinion, you have to have that convergence. So, what I try to do is, many folks in the Green Party would look at me as a progressive and they would say, why the hell are you mostly in the Republican Party? Or, some would tell me, why the hell do you support my Republican brother here on the other side? And I say, the reason I support Andrew as a Green Party guy, and I support John as a Republican, and I support myself and my cohorts as Democrats, is because, interestingly, my entire sphere, meaning Andrew as a Green, John as a Republican, and me and my cohort as Democrats, is the one magic that I've learned is that we have more in common than we have not. And in so doing, that we have a party affiliation means so little in that we're converging in the same place.
Finding those commonalities allows us to form alliances to get specific things done.
Right.
And sometimes those alliances won't always be appropriate for every situation. Sometimes we'll be on opposite sides of an issue.
Right.
But we don't have to maintain those alliances during those times.
Right.
We can pick them back up later on other issues that we can agree on. So yeah, I understand that. And though, I still have my goals of, promoting the organizations that I'm a part of, helping them gain
Absolutely.
power. That doesn't mean that there can't be allies in other organizations.
Absolutely.
Why the IWW will stand on the picket line with a number of these other business unions.
Exactly.
It's because, they're still workers. They still deserve our support.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, and that's why we talk about democracy needing people that think.
Yeah.
There are some people that just says, I'm with my faction no matter what. In other words, Donald Trump is a crook. Mm-hmm. All right. And no matter that he's a crook and he does all these things, there are a certain faction of the Republican Party that will stick with him no matter what.
We talked about this on Thinkwing Radio recently. Right. I call it sports team politics.
Right.
He's our guy and we've got to stand behind him no matter what he does.
Exactly.
That does not help anyone.
Exactly.
Even the people in taking part in it, because ultimately it weakens their own power.
Absolutely. And in fact, I tell you something that I brought up on my show, my 3 o'clock show yesterday, is I pointed out that Biden gave a speech yesterday where he brought up, yesterday was the 13th anniversary of the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
Let me first tell everybody, I supported the Affordable Care Act as a last resort. I only want health care for all.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Yes.
I want our tax dollars to be used so that we don't need Medicare. We don't need Medicare Advantage. We don't need private insurance. Yes. We just have all of us in one pool. It would save us over 40%, if not more, of our healthcare budget. And absolutely every single American and visitor would be taken care of. Now, that said, what he went out there and said yesterday, something that Democrats and many failed to do. And he said, look, guys, Republicans on every bill that they have passed, every budget they have passed since Obamacare have voted to repeal it. Never have they gave a response to what would they replace it with. Mm-hmm. But worse, now that Obamacare is the law of the land, mm-hmm. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare has something known as the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. There are still 10 red states mm-hmm. that have refused it. They're the 10 poorest red states plus Florida and Texas that have refused it. In the process, many of those citizens are dying. Right? Many of those citizens are dying. So he's pointing out that whenever you drive into rural Mississippi, rural Florida, rural Texas, rural of all these places, by the way, Louisiana did support it and passed it. Mm-hmm. Whenever you drive into these areas, right, there are hospitals closing because the poor people in rural areas, which are generally the poorest parts of our country, cannot get healthcare and their hospitals are closing. The trauma deaths in those areas are many times more than here in the cities, which kind of tells them the cities are getting better deals than we are, which is simply that these states did not accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. Right. And Biden points it out. I wrote a correspondent blog where I said, every single progressive, every time a hospital in a rural area closes, they should be out there with big signs and media saying, this is a result of your governor. This is a result of all of your Republican state representatives not accepting the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. Had that be instituted, this hospital would be there. Yes. And I would also have the names of many of the people in that rural area that have died from trauma. Yes. And I would have had a billboard with it. These guys I think that
blood is on their hands.
Right. And I think it is too. I think there's nothing magical about what I just said.
Right.
I don't consider myself a great marketer at all. So therefore you have to ask yourself, why is it that this isn't done? And to which I give a lot of Republicans credit for. Mm-hmm. They always talk about the East and West Coast elitists who are controlling the Democratic Party. And these guys have no clue about how our rural brothers and sisters are living.
Yeah.
They have no clue what these people go through.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to take.
That's all right. Well, it's your show.
But come on. This is our show.
It's our show. It's everyone's show.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. And one of the key reasons I believe that Republicans in these states, like here in Texas, refuse to accept this Medicare expansion, this aid that is there for these communities that is being offered by the federal government, but the states aren't taking it, is because it keeps these people poor. It keeps them desperate. And that is good for the Republican Party because it's good for business. It forces people into worse jobs. It forces people to accept any kind of desperate hope. And the Republican Party plays on that. They write these messages that are vapid and empty, but they sound hopeful. They sound, I'm going to give you the power to decide your life by kicking back against the federal government, but it's not true. It doesn't help them in the long run. It just keeps them desperate, and that's good for business, and that's good for the Republicans.
Exactly right. The other things that they do, and welcome aboard Julie Henderson as well in our chat, and thank you for the great commentary by Alistair, great commentary by E2247, etc. Now here's the issue, and I want those. It's amazing. I came in here with a complete show, right?
Yeah, we're totally off topic now.
But what I'm saying, that is what I like about the format, because we were going to, I want to talk about TikTok, and I have two other subjects to discuss, but I think this is of such importance, right? Yeah. For the listener out there, that we want to make that call. And by the way, anybody who wants to be a to say their piece as well, give us a call at 713-526-5738. I know we've been doing a lot of talking and not giving you the telephone number, but sometimes it gets that way. I hope you're getting something out of it. 713-526-5738, extension number 2. Actually, guys, call now. Fill up the lines right now. I'd love to hear your opinions if you're listening to what we have to say here. And
713-526-5738, extension 2.
Absolutely.
There you go. Just hit 2. Give us a call. Let's hear your thoughts about this. Now, we have a party that likes to tell, this is how they talk. They says government is going to do that. If government takes over, things don't work. Government is inefficient. Actually, government is pretty efficient. I mean, they pretty much lie. The post office is one of the most efficient organizations here. Not because somebody talks kind of badly to you at the desk, mean that it's not a well-run operation. Right? The post office can get you a piece of mail any part of this country for 50-something cents.
The single biggest drag on the post office financially is the requirement that they have to pre-fund employee pensions. No other company has to do it. No other company, other part of the government has to do that. It is a specific requirement that was instituted by the Republicans because they wanted to kill the USPS and privatize it.
The thing about it is they can't kill it wholeheartedly because it's constitutional, but they can sure strip it and have UPS. And the thing about it is that UPS, the cheapest way to get what would be a first class letter would have been $4 and something cents in a little carton. In a little, not a carton, a little envelope.
A little.
Right. So, I mean, people would realize it real quickly how efficient the post office is. Alistair, come on in, line number 1. Come on in.
Hi, guys.
How you doing, my brother? My sister.
I am doing good today, even though it's a little gloomy and rainy right now. It's all good because the rain is washing away the pollen. Thank you, Jesus. Anyway, yes, the show is going. I love the directions.
Well, Andrew comes into a room and Andrew has a way of changing the subject, but I love Andrew. He's a young man.
Andrew hit the nail on the head.
Yes.
In the chat, I had said that, the reason I feel Texas won't accept the Medicaid expansion is because they just don't care about the people that are affected by not having.
Right.
Yes, keep them dumb, keep them in the dark, turn them into mushrooms.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Alistair. You're absolutely right.
Cover them in crap.
Yep.
So, and yeah, that's exactly it. Well, and then as far as TikTok goes, please like our government is so clean. You know,
Alistair, don't get yourself in trouble, 19. My dear sister.
You know what? My FBI agent on the phone knows how I am, so we're good.
All right, sis. Hey, sis, the lines are filling up. So anything else you want to say real quickly?
No, y'all are awesome. And yes, I love today's show. I love every show, but today is really a good one too.
Thank you, my sis. Have a great one. Much. Okay. All right, let's go to Colby, line numero 3. All right, come on in, Colby.
Hey there, Egberto.
How you doing, my friend?
Doing well. I just wanted to just kind of touch broadly here and say that I find it kind of funny that the folks who decry public health care, public education, call it all socialism, they don't like, Medicaid. But these are also the same people typically who back the blue.
Yep, exactly.
And what is backing the blue? I mean, these people don't trust the government, but they trust someone with a badge and a gun.
You remember what Andrew said, right? And I think I mentioned that as well. Democracy requires people to be
educated.
Continue. Go ahead and finish it up.
Yeah, an educated electorate is a prerequisite for democracy. And you're absolutely right. What they don't like is what they consider to be the government, the scapegoat that they can build in their head of politicians in Washington. They don't need to have a particular person in mind. They don't need to even have a particular party in mind, even though they often do. They often blame the Democratic Party. But they consider that the government. They don't consider police the government. They don't consider military the government because they always assume that the police and the military are going to work for them, are going to fight for their interests. And the fact is that that's not a reliable thing. I mean, you cannot trust, in my opinion, that the police and the military are going to do what is right for the citizens, what is right for the people, because they're not paid by the people. They're paid by the government.
Exactly. And, there's one quick thing I want to add, Colby, and that is, for some reason, everybody believes that the private sector does things better. People have to remember the private sector, it has its allegiance to the people, to the shareholder.
Yeah.
The government has the allegiance to you, and we have to take the responsibility to make sure that allegiance is paid for. Go ahead, Colby.
Oh, I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, yeah. But, there's also, just to go on the private sector thing, there's also a little bit of a blend sometimes.
Yes.
Like, for example, when Tesla took a whole bunch of government money. I mean, they paid it back.
Right.
But without that money, they wouldn't be who they are today.
It is amazing, isn't it? It's amazing that these guys, I wrote a note yesterday on a blog where I pointed out the following. Everybody was so talking about Musk as he did a great thing to send somebody to the edge of space, right? I worked for NASA back in the 90s. We did so much more than that. Not only that, the Apollo program that sent somebody to the moon in 1969 used a microprocessor that was so much less powerful than my cell phone.
Yeah.
And they went to the moon and back. I don't remember the kind of fanfare that we're given to Musk. Musk didn't do a damn thing. Musk used the technology that all of us developed over decades to do what he did.
And the advances in the reusing of rocket technology, those are real advances, sure, but those aren't Musk's advances.
Right.
He's a boss. He didn't do any of the work himself. The workers did the work.
Exactly.
And, in my opinion, and I think my union would agree with me.
Actually, that's not an opinion. That's a fact. We have to distinguish opinion from fact. That is a fact.
I'm about to say something that's
Go ahead.
In my opinion, and I think my union would agree with me, the workers should be getting the praise for that. The workers should be getting the rewards for that. The government contracts, these sorts of things that they benefit from, that belongs to the workers and not Musk, not the executives, not the shareholders.
Right. Baba, I'm coming to you next. But Colby, let me just say one other thing because, actually, I want to bring up something that Arnetta Murray, Dr. Arnetta Murray said on this chat. She says, Trump is more dangerous than TikTok.
Yes.
Isn't that true? Yeah. All right. Hey, I need to go to somebody else, Colby. Thank you so kindly for calling. Keep listening and please remember to share. Okay, brother?
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Baba, line 2. Come on in, Baba.
Well, Ingabantu to you, my
dear brother. Talk to me, my dear distinguished sir.
Yeah. Let me just say something quickly. And I have a question that I'm going to leave you with. But I want to really give you the accolades that you and those two brothers
brilliant
that are
brothers here. Yes.
I mean, to imagine, Egberto, that somewhere in this country as repressive as this prison industrial military complex is on the truth, to brothers like you all that have the knowledge. Now, you all to me are the quintessential definition of what woke really is, what white supremacists want to call it, just about.
Thank you, brother. I think all three of us here love that comment.
Yes, you are. So I just want to commend the three of you. Now, of course, you and I, Roberto, we are colleagues and we're fellow elders. Those two young men need to be encouraged, continue to make sure that they stay around like-minded intellectuals such as yourself.
Don't worry, brother. You'll hear them on my show all the time because these are my two intellectual brothers here.
Really, and segue into the question to what the brother said earlier about the fact that this never was intended to be a quote-unquote republic democracy, such as the facade of what Greece was and things like that. It was always intended to be the oligarchy, or what's the other word for when a few rule?
You can call it oligarchy, you can call it plutocracy, you can call it any one of those things. Yes. Yeah,
that's exactly what the founding invaders had in mind. So that's just what I'm saying. Now here's the question I have, because you mentioned it, I think, somebody mentioned it, is that why do post office, and this is about the WMD, the weapons of media distortion. Hey, did you get it, Egberto?
Yeah, I got it, brother.
I said weapons of media distortion. Why is it that post office employees get so triggered when you tell them that they're government employees? Who gave them the tea, the Kool-Aid, to make them think? Now, like you said, it's constitutional, number one.
Yes.
Number two is they can't raise a penny on a stamp. Oh, Lord.
All right. Let me answer that. Let me let you go, my brother, because I want to answer the question and I want to cover one thing else. But thank you for that question, and I'm going to answer it in a minute. Okay.
Thank you,
brother. And I appreciate you. Okay. And by the way, we're talking about Tory. What am I saying? Tori and Andrew.
Yes,
all right.
Thank you.
So thank you guys. Anyway, here we go. They are not officially, it's a government agency that they work for. And that's the reason sometimes they like to make that distinction. Right. But I'll tell you one thing. None of them have ever told me that they're not government employees. There may be some that say that because, carrying the tag government employee to some is sort of but
it's sort of a bad word.
Right. Yeah. We have the right wing who wants people to believe government is bad.
Right. Exactly.
I want to tell folks government is good because I am not bad. Andrew is not bad. Tori is not bad. And guess who Andrew, Egberto, and Tori are? And you as well, Baba. We are the government. We, the people of the United States. We are the government. So if somebody tells you government is bad, it is equivalent of saying you are bad.
Mm-hmm. Everyone
in
this country. Right. Because the government can be co-opted, and it has been co-opted by the rich and the powerful interests, the people who put profits above people. And that is something that can happen and does happen, and it's something we should fight against. But that is not an inherent problem with government as a concept. Right. It's not an inherent problem with democracy as a concept. It's because of flaws in our structure. And those flaws are repairable.
Absolutely.
And they are changeable. And if they're not repairable, we can build something better.
Absolutely. But let me tell you, is 7 somebody waiting also? Or is that just hanging there? I see somebody on line 4. Is that somebody waiting? Let's go to line 4 then. Come on in. 7, come on in. Are you there, 7?
That's a question mark, I believe.
Oh, that's a question mark. Okay.
We don't have a name for you.
We don't have a name. So anybody that's on hold, talk. Okay. I guess that person is not going to talk. All right. So yeah, I think when it comes to the last question, Baba asked a very important question. Mm-hmm. Why do some people speak about it that way? Hello, John. Come on in. Drag up a chair. Pull that chair up.
We have that chair over there.
Yeah. I didn't know you were here. I would have pulled you in before, brother. Come on in. Come right here.
No problem.
Okay. Let me just introduce John right here before we get started. Okay. By the way, John is on mic número 2 now, and Andrew will be on mic número 3. Thank you very much, John. I mean, mic number 4.
Do we have a headphones for him?
There's use one of those and plug that up for John.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is plugged in.
Hey, John, let me tell you something about being here at KPFT. When you show up, no matter what time or whatever, brother, you just have to kind of barge yourself in here because we will keep going. All right.
No problem.
No problem. Anyway, let's start about here. John Baird Jr. is an active member of his community and has dedicated his life and career to serving the public. He has over 32 years of public service as an elected official, 9 as city councilman and mayor pro tem, with current and previous service on numerous boards and commissions with the city of Port Arthur. He's an activist, he's an environmentalist, and he's know-it-all with respect to not only Port Arthur, but what's going on. My brother, and he's been in front of the Environmental Commission. I can't remember what it is, but welcome to Politics Done Right. John, how you doing, sir?
I'm fine, sir. How are you this afternoon?
I am doing very, very well. Tell me a little bit about what kind of stuff you're doing environmentally in your community, and it actually extends beyond your community.
Well, the key thing that I'm trying to do in the work I'm doing in my community, we need some relief. We have over 12 decades of environmental pollution and contamination from the petrochem industry, and people need relief. It's manifested itself in the fact that we have such high rates of cancer, heart, lung, and kidney disease. Matter of fact, we were told in 2010 we had twice the state and national average for those diseases. And no one's done any research or looked into the why behind all of that. I believe it's environmentally caused because we know what they're putting in the air.
Dioxins and all of that.
That's right. And we know what they do to the human body. So knowing that, we don't have to know exactly that company A or company B did it. They all did it. They all contributed. That makes all of them an accessory. So first of all, the whole action is about getting some relief, addressing the problem directly. Then the second thing is helping people live better. 80% of the citizens don't have medical care coverage.
Right.
That's problematic. So we've got to do something to help them to make their lives better and ease their pain. But what it all boils down to, in BIPOC communities like mine and others on the Gulf Coast and across the country, is environmental racism, pure and simple.
Right.
And we have to find some way to help them and help ourselves. So large part of my work is to do that. And as you were mentioning earlier, I've served in so many capacities, born and raised on the fence line, right, across the street from the tank farm, of what's now the largest refinery in the country. Look out the kitchen window, washing dishes, and can see
and you can see the refinery. Steam and the gases coming out of.
You can hear it and you can smell it.
Right.
And so having that exposure, then being an elected official representing my community, and now having worked 38 years in the petrochemical industry for, don't hold it against me, y'all, ExxonMobil Corporation.
Everybody has a job.
Yeah, that's right. It just brought me to know certain things. And I decided toward the end, really while I was still working for them, that all of the promises and all the things they say simply aren't true. They talk about the jobs they bring to communities. We make life better. We contribute things. And they do some of that. But they don't do enough to affect the actual lives of people in the BIPOC community themselves. If so, with the jobs and all they bring them, why do we have such chronically high unemployment? The only places that are higher in Texas are on the lower end near Brownsville and in that area where they have no petrochemicals.
Right. No real industry.
Their industry is tourism.
Right.
It don't pay the bills like the petrochem does, like they love to brag on about that, but they don't get hired. So that's a problem. This one I'm going to stop so you can cut back in. I talked to one of the captains of industry there, about a year or so ago. They had transitioned out of that job and was in another capacity in the city. And they were telling me one of their last orders of business was to hire 25 operators. So that person went about doing the work and all and narrowed it down from 2,000 applicants to 800 they tested to 150 they're going to get to 25 from. Care to guess how many of that 25 came from Port Arthur?
I would gather that none.
2.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Now, so if you just extrapolate that out with all the so-called thousands of jobs they produce and create, that doesn't amount to much. Not nearly enough for a city of 55,000 to change its complexion from being a poor city with a median income of only $35,000 a year to one that's far more prosperous, like one of the other bedroom communities where they're averaging 75, 80, and almost $100,000
right next door to your community. In fact, that's where they likely got the hirees from.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So there's something that you mentioned that has always been dear to my heart, and that is healthcare. You know, in the price of gas, these guys try to create that balance between the current price of gas versus how much people would buy. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing. I've always talked about the gasoline externalities, right? Mm-hmm. You speak about you living in a cancer alley because of these plants that produce gasoline and all these other byproducts. Right. The thing about it is a lot of these companies don't have the affordable health care for these people that are there, and they make it seem as if healthcare is something that, it would be nice if we give them, or somehow if they give a piece of healthcare that they're doing something good. The reality is they are producing a product that create the healthcare
health hazards
to these folks, and not paying for it. Shouldn't one of the things that we work on towards is, since we not yet have a health care for all system, that those companies are in fact responsible for the health damage that they are causing in Cancer Alley and other areas like that?
Yes, well, they have to be held responsible. Mm-hmm. If I'm take for instance something that happened in my family member one time, and he was a young man and was involved in something where, he and a bunch of guys were in a car, and the guy said, "Hey man, stop over that convenience store. I'm going to get in and get something." Well, he went and got something. All right. He brought a gun with him and he robbed the place. And when he did, he jumped back in the car with his guys, hurry up and take off. My cousin didn't have anything to do with it, but guess what? He was an accessory.
Right.
Yeah. He was an accessory to the act. And there are numerous other cases where you may not have pulled the trigger.
Right.
But you were there and you were part of it and you didn't do anything to stop it. So you are an accessory to a crime or criminal act. And what's happening to these BIPOC communities and others is truly criminal.
Yes.
What they're doing is poisoning and killing people. We know that. We know it to be true. The question is, why hasn't anything been done? Why haven't we utilized the system that's in place to be able to get restitution, to be able to get relief, to be able to help those communities? Because anywhere else in American jurisprudence, if you damage or harm me, I have the right to redress.
Exactly.
I have the right to be compensated for what you have done.
Yes.
And we have all the evidence and the information. Question is, why ain't nobody going after these guys?
So tell us a little bit about your organization, how your organization operates, and how people can help get that redress that you're speaking about for your constituency, the people in your area.
Well, the key thing we're doing is that we are in a constant effort to put more information out there for people and educate them, because you're in an area that is for so long dependent on this that it's kind of sort of just taken for granted. Mm-hmm. I remember growing up, because I'm second generation petrochem. My dad worked at Gulf Oil, which is now Valero. I worked at, ExxonMobil. And one of the things that Daddy used to say when we'd pass between what's now the largest refinery in the country, Motiva, and Exxon and Valero, on either side of a 4 or 5 lane highway, when you smell that smell.
Oh, yeah.
You would want to turn up your nose and hold it and all that. Oh, it's horrible. And he'd say, "Son, don't turn up your nose at that. That's the smell of money." And a lot of people still feel that way, because at one time, they did gainfully employ numbers of people. And their ancillary industries, the companies that did business with them, employed Port Arthur people. And the companies that did business with the companies that did business in the plant did business and hired Port Arthur people. But that's no longer the case.
Right.
So with a lack of those jobs and opportunities and hopelessness that comes with it, and not being able to affect change, to take care of your family properly, to have a nice home, to be able to do the things we all take for granted when you got the income. Well, now, because of that, it's manifested itself in those health issues. And also, once again, we want to get them some relief. The second of all, we have to educate people. And then we have to pursue that justice that we talk about. We have to turn economic or environmental injustice to environmental justice by, number one, alleviating the problem. Number two, helping the people who have been affected and seeking relief for them. And then giving them a platform upon which to build in this energy equity we talk about in the transition, that is going to allow them to not pull themselves up by their bootstraps, because I ain't seen no boots yet. If you pulled on them, you got off the ground.
There you go.
But what you got to do is create a system set up where they can climb that ladder of success and attain better for themselves and their families.
Absolutely. And your group is the Port Arthur Community Action Network.
That's right.
Very, very good work.
Look us up. We're on the web. www.pa-can.com or Pecan Port Arthur, P-A-C-A-N, not with the E, because if you say with the E, they think we're nuts. That's a pecan. That's anyway, a pecan. That's a nut. We're not nuts.
We're not nuts, and we got to get out of here. Look, I want to thank you, John Baird, for being here with Politics Done Right. This is important information. You will be on again. Hopefully, we'll get you here at the right time that we can get it all done.
All right, that and take it.
There you go, my brother. My name is Egberto Willis. I want to thank Andrew and Tori for the great commentary. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. You guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out!
Protect his home and family from disaster.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.